So the latest big update from Diablo Immortal brought some really interesting condemned capabilities for the Crusader and has really upped its viability as a PvP class and playstyle. Now, my previous experimentation of this gravitated more towards the Condemn Vortex build with these new Condemn Legendaries. However, I'm now running a primary attack DPS tank dash build, which I'm really enjoying. It's really fitting with my playstyle and it feels really viable now for PvP. So let's walk through it and look at some examples of the playstyle and see if you like it. So we're using Holy Banner in PvP, which is a bit odd, but it makes sense once we get into that. We're using Frozen Chains as a stun option, and then we're pairing it with the Surging Sword for the 3 dash capabilities. Now onto the Condemned side, we're using Blinding Wall for the Condemned, unleashing blind enemies for 1.6 seconds. Doesn't target the same target more than once every 3 seconds, but when you pair this with the Frozen Chains, you actually create a perma-stun rotation. Hit them with the blind for 1.6 seconds, hit them with the chains afterwards. The blind effect has a 9-second cooldown, so there's only a second potentially that they're not stunned. Now, Akarat's Rebuke applies blind to your primary attack and adds a cool little lightning bolt effect there as well. So this is where the dash comes into play, because this is a play style where your primary attack blinds, stuns, and you need to be in their face to do that and get in and out very quickly. That's why we're favoring the Falling Sword dash more than the shield charge, so we can get in and out, or in, and if we're not successful, we can get out very quickly. It's a primary attack build. We need to be really in their face to make most of it. So now we use a Condemned Pants to increase condemned attack damage for each harmful effect the enemy suffers from. Now, at any given time, the enemy will be suffering from blind, they will be suffering from being frozen, and I have Chip of Stone Flesh, which procs on blind or full stun with the frozen anyway. So it's a really easy way to get up to 50 to 76% increased damage on our primary attack. Remember, Condemned is now bounded to a primary attack for a ridiculously increased DPS. Now, in my previous builds, I was using the Flame Sword with the Horn Splitter because it applies bleed damage via the flame. However, you lose the mobility, or you have to use a different type of mobility. And also you lose the 20% block damage increase from using Punish. So with this build, we've gone back to Punish as a primary attack because it is a single target attack style and the increased block chance, and then frees up our main hand to have the 3 dash. So increased mobility, more block. It really negates the additional affliction chance from using these pants with the Sacred Fire. That's a personal choice. I prefer the block because I'm in their faces, but this is something that you can experiment with as well. Now, in terms of green sets, I'm using the primary attack damage increase. We are also using Loom for the increase after using Dash. And then finally, the 2-piece Baron for the increased duration. This feels like a good middle ground for me. We are a primary attack build. We are using Dash. We are using Stun. So let's get a little damage increase and duration increase across all of them to really round out the build style. This build really works 1v1. We've got someone approaching us on idle. I can see them on the map. I do Holy Banner before I engage. He's running straight at me, so I figure, you know what, throw Frozen Chain to stop him in his spot, use Dash to get right next to him, and then the Condemned primary attack will just start melting them completely. It's a build that is really tanky, high DPS, and it makes you so much more confident with those basic 1v1s. So we're still on the same idol, the same player has respawned, so we're just going to do exactly the same thing without the banner. Now, if you're worried about people approaching you, you can throw the Frozen Chains first. Otherwise, Dash and Condemn to proc the blind, and then after 1.6 seconds, do the Frozen Chains so that you have a perma-stun rotation. I knew this player was a little bit weak, so I had the full confidence of just throwing it to him first, and then dashing in to mop him up. It's also a really good build for attacking the Ancient Heart. Here, we don't have many players on our side, so I just figured, you know what, stuff it. I'm just going to start attacking the primary heart. We've got the Holy Banner up, we've got Condemned up, dash is cooling down, so I trigger the dash, 3 dash to increase my damage output because of the Gloom set, and then just start wailing on the heart. So we kind of single-handedly take it from like 700 all the way down. All the other players are keeping the other people engaged as well. We've got a nice barbarian helping there as well. But it is super, super high DPS. So if you're in a situation like this, just go for the Ancient Heart because you are going to melt it. Here's a more typical skill rotation. We've got people coming in. I do the Condemned. They're right in front of me, so I just start attacking. Now that procs blind immediately, and what I'm trying to do here is time my Frozen Chain throw to after 1.6 seconds. I actually missed because I killed him at the same time I threw it, but I still have Condemned up anyway, so I can get the other guy, and then again I'm timing my dash skill so that as soon as he's out of stun, my dash and the next attack will have the increased damage, and I get a nice little assist because my mate picked it up. So here we have a barb approaching. I used to be terrified of barbs, but now we've got the Condemned. We throw the Frozen Chain. The Condemned primary attack damage is increased. I do the dash for the 15% damage increase for 3 seconds as well, and then we get him down to his cheat death. Now from here, I'm just waiting. You can see I've got some blocks happening because we're using Punish. He's immune to fatal damage, so we're just waiting for him to get out of that and also waiting for my skills to cool down as well. Once my Condemned, I do Holy Banner just as a backup because I need extra damage whilst I wait for Condemned. The Condemned comes up, we trigger the stun, and we've melted him as well. I used to be terrified of barbs, but now with this, we've almost got like a perma-stun rotation going on because they're the one class that wants to get in your face. They now have a real hard time doing that with the Frozen Chain and blind stun rotation. So this build gives me a little bit more confidence to engage on idle, especially when there's multiple players. As long as I'm close to them, I can throw Frozen Chains. And now they absorbed the CC functionality, the dash to increase the damage. And then once I've got Condemned on the primary attack, I've got 3 people on me here with someone helping me. But because I've got the confidence of the blind on the Condemned, I can just start wailing away. Now with this guy, the block increase is helping me. I'm absorbing a lot of his attacks, and whilst I keep him distracted, I've got another Crusader coming up behind me with the shield charge stun, and he finishes him up. So having the Condemn primary attack stun and the dash, especially with Gloom, really closes the gap of the other classes in the knowledge of their abilities. With Barbarians, they want to be in your face. Well, a Condemn stun blind primary attack will stop them before that. And other classes such as Demon Hunter and Necro Wizard want to be more mid-range. Well, we use dash where appropriate to close the gap to get into their faces. Provided Necros aren't doing Bone Pillar, or you can get as close as you want to be, and then the primary attack stuns them. Here we have a Barbarian who charged us, but then we used Frozen Chain to stop him dead in his tracks. And then from here, we're using the stun to close the gap and increase the damage, and then the Condemned or Frozen Chains to stop them in their track and get a nice handy kill once they're out of cheap death. So again, being strategic with who you're engaging and knowing their strengths and weaknesses, you can either close the gap or wait for them to get in your face. So another example here of a Barbarian whirling around like crazy. So again, Condemn for the primary attack increase, Frozen Chains to stun him, stop dead in his tracks, and we melt him. Barbs are no longer a worry now, which is great. So I know in a lot of my previous videos I used to say that Crusaders weren't tanky, but this style of playstyle and the effects and what have you has kind of changed my mind on that a little bit. We Holy Banner coupled with the Condemn primary attack damage, the Gloom, the primary attack damage increase, the Baron in terms of the 2x3 green sets has really changed my mind about this being a tanky DPS stun style build. You still have to be strategic. You really pick your battles. I don't usually do 3v1 or 2v1s, and I'm definitely get in, do your skill rotation, and then use the dash to get out and heal. It's always better to leave the area to heal up, to re-engage. I never attack an opponent when I'm at 50% health or less, and especially when I don't have cheat death. And if I do have cheat death, then it's waiting for the dash to cool down during that so I can get away and re-heal. But it's a really, really fun playstyle. My previous playstyle was using the Condemned radius and the shield spin to kind of yank them out like a harpoon off idols, and it was very much like a second wave kind of engagement. But now with this build, I can feel really confident about engaging first, being right up front, being in the mix, because at any given time, my primary attack is doing a Condemn blind, and then I can do the rotation with the frozen chains. I've had some feedback from barbarians that I've been able to perma-stun multiple times about how frustrating of a playstyle it is to go up against. If the barbarians don't have that fire whirlwind kind of effect up, it's a real pain in the ass. Now, monks are meta at the moment, and they do have a lot of capabilities to mitigate stun, and they have their own dash abilities as well. But the Condemn primary attack, as long as you can at least get one to interrupt their skill rotation, then you should be able to initiate your perma-stun skill rotation, or use Falling Sword to dash away. Let someone else take care of it after you've procced the initial cheat death, because at that point, the monk's probably going to overwhelm you. But it's a really fun playstyle. I'm really enjoying it. I'm getting some really high kill games with this, and the perma stun rotation with the frozen chain and the Condemn primary attack has been really, really satisfying, especially with Holy Banner to really, really increase that primary attack damage. Let me know if you are using this. I am noticing a lot of Crusaders now are moving to the Condemn meta for PvP, so I'm fascinated to know if you're using my previous builds or if you've used this builds. Leave some comments. Let's get some chat going on. I love talking about this, so leave a comment and let me know what you think.